What's your answer to someone who says Bitcoin at 80K or 100K or 150K is too expensive? I missed it.
I think so many things in crypto are a matter of the perspective from which one is looking at a topic. So I want to respond to that by zooming out for a second. What is Bitcoin competing for? What is the context of Bitcoin? The context of Bitcoin is that there's something like $400 trillion of money and assets in the world. And the people who own and control and manage the money and assets are trying to park it and direct it into investments that help them accomplish things that they want. They might want the value of their investment to go up. They might want to protect and defensively store their investment and value over time. They might want a diversified set of investments. And their instruments are real estate, 100 trillion, equities globally, about 100 trillion, fixed income, similar. They of course have, now credit and private equity. These are their instruments. There's treasuries. These are the options on their menu. There's now a new option on the menu. It's called Bitcoin. It's worth $2 trillion. There's $400 trillion trying to figure out how to move into the future in the best way for their objectives. And by the way, the $400 trillion is growing.
That's a very underestimated or under-talked or under-thought factor, I would say, especially in crypto circles.
Yes.
We don't think about like everything expanding. I was talking with Matt, your CIO, and he was talking about basically asking why is gold price exploding higher, so bullish for Bitcoin? And he was explaining that gold is 10x higher than Bitcoin at about 30 trillion, 25 trillion. But that 20 years ago, gold was 3 trillion.
Yeah. It's the TAM, to use company building speak, the total addressable market for crypto assets in Bitcoin is growing at the same time as Bitcoin's share of it is growing. So its share is growing and the pie is growing. And by the way, the backdrop that we, encounter all the time with our clients is some of the old tools that people used. It could be stocks, it could be bonds, it could be treasuries. People are starting to question whether the tools that they used for the last 20 years are the tools they want to use for the next decade. And in the investment world, that would be described, for instance, as the shift towards alternatives. Those are alternatives to public equities and fixed income. But what's endemic in that is people are in general right now open-minded and questioning where they're parking all these dollars. I will also say that as interest rates come down, dollars that are currently sitting in fixed income that like the yield will say, okay, the yield's going away. I should move my car to a new parking spot. Where should I park it to store it for the future? So there's a lot that's in flux. The size of the opportunity is just so massive that it almost makes a conversation about 80,000 versus 100,000 feel silly. And then the question is this asset going to be a valid, enduring, available, legal option on the table for these $400 trillion? And that's why I'm bullish. Absolutely. And never more than now. And the trajectory of it is that it's here to stay as a valid option.
You wrote, when the first e-commerce companies launched, the e-commerce total addressable market was small, but it grew and grew and hasn't stopped. A structural tailwind to those businesses. This is something people often get wrong about markets. In innovation sectors, they look at a snapshot in time and forget that the total addressable market will grow. The total addressable market for crypto is dollars looking for a home. And it's a one-way train.
There you go. That's what I think. And I think when you view it from this high level, you can see why people who are financial professionals or investment professionals say this thing could be 10 times larger. Even in that scenario, it's very small in terms of where people are parking their dollars.
Yeah. Well, your colleague and CIO of Bitwise, Matt Hogan, thinks it's reasonable for Bitcoin to trade in the multiple $1 million. He gives a $6.5 million number.
Wow.
And
That's great news. Maybe we should just wrap up here. I think we're done.
We're done. We just wait for a couple of years. We go chill at the beach.
Where should we hang? Yeah.
And Avishal, actually, from Electric Capital, was saying 5 to 10 million is not, because we're talking about how we're not able to think exponentially, and how even in tech, right, this exponential growth for the successful ones, which are few ones, right, are much bigger than we think, because we can't think about large numbers with our brains.
That's right.
And also how the compounding is actually coming later on. It's not at the beginning.
Yes.
It's later on.
Yes. I think, Warren Buffett, I don't have the particulars, but I believe that he made the vast majority of his money in the last decade or two of his career.
The numbers are, I think, he first $1 million by 36-year-old, and now he's worth, I don't know how many hundreds of billions of dollars, right?
Yes.
So,
yes, and that's compounding at work.
Yeah.
And I think to your point about people just sometimes can't imagine large numbers. We rang the bell for the Bitwise Solana staking ETF, and you were there, and that was a real pleasure at the New York Stock Exchange. The New York Stock Exchange started, I want to say, in maybe the 1780s or something like that. From that time until 2020, there was never in history a company worth $1 trillion. It's been 5 years. 200 years? It's been 5 years since then. And we have companies worth $4 trillion now. So the extent, and this is something that I think is familiar to people in tech, but if you are on the right side of a growing market, it is such an unbelievable tailwind. And I also just want to now sort of step aside and again revisit the frame for crypto. Every structural tailwind is aligned to crypto's benefit. It's actually unbelievable to me. So if it's all right with you, Kevin, I'd love to actually just step through some of these. Okay, so number one, an element of crypto is people losing trust in institutions, governments losing trust in each other. That over the last 5 years has increased. Another element that is conducive to crypto is the global money supply. There's $400 trillion of assets. The more money there is, the more might want to invest in crypto. That is the right trend. Another trend in the favor of crypto is young people getting older. There's a survey from Schwab that asks millennials, Gen X, and baby boomers their preferences by asset class. Maybe not surprising to people, but for Gen X and millennials, it's in the top 2 out of 10. For baby boomers, it's close to the bottom. With every year that passes, those individuals start to control institutions. And actually, I'm gonna stitch on an anecdote just to give you an example of something I think people really have not factored in or thought through. I got a call from the CFO of a company that had just raised $2 billion of cash. And he wanted to talk about putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Figma, the company that went public this summer, had put Bitcoin on their balance sheet about 4% through the Bitwise Bitcoin ETF. So he called us up and wanted to talk about putting Bitcoin on his balance sheet. They just raised all this cash. I imagined we would have a conversation about the role of Bitcoin, what other companies are doing, how to size it, expected volatility. That was not the conversation. He just wanted to know how he could buy it. It was already intuitive to him, and he already had conviction that, of course, if he has $2 billion that he needs to transport over time, he wants some of it in Bitcoin. That is an example of a structural tailwind that I think people are underestimating, which is, I think the oldest Gen X is now 50 or thereabouts. Over time, these two generations, which have an intuitive conviction in the merits of this asset class, are going to be promoted to run organizations. When they are put in the position to make the decision about doing the right thing, it's not going to be a melee about explain Bitcoin mining to me. Tell me why, this isn't this isn't too volatile, and I think things will accelerate. So those are, and then the fourth thing I'm just going to add is I mentioned before, but alternatives. It's already a trend in professional investing world to reconsider. This is just a prevailing trend to reconsider how you're allocating your dollars and your assets and to move more and more of them into alternatives. So all four of these things are running on their own every 6 months that pass and are conducive to the success of crypto, irrespective of anything else. And so I just think that there's such unbelievable reasons to be bullish about this asset class.
You wrote people overestimated how much Bitcoin would be used beyond the store value the last 10 years. People are underestimating how much it will be used over the next 10 years.
Yep.
Can you explain?
Sure. I think what I was attempting to get at there. Well, I'll start by saying you may have seen that Square rolled out the ability for their 4 million merchants to accept payments with Bitcoin. I think it's called a peer-to-peer electronic payment system. A long-standing vision for Bitcoin is that it could be used for payments and as a medium of exchange. I think that, and many people have wondered, why hasn't this happened? There have been there's been work on Lightning Network, David Marcus's company. There's been all sorts of attempts. I think what sometimes people miss with new technology, companies, et cetera, is that you don't go from zero to final form in 2 moments. There's a sequence. A house is built by first digging a hole in the ground, and then you put in a basement, and then you put in the first floor, and then you put in the second floor. Similarly, for new technology or new business, there's a sequence. Bitcoin as a new technology, in order for somebody to want to accept it as payment, they first need to agree that it has value. So the sequence that I think will, in hindsight, have unfolded is there will have been 15 or 20 years where the world debated whether Bitcoin has value. And then once everyone agrees that it has value, and we're getting closer and closer to that, then they'll start to be willing to accept it as a payment. But of course, if the world doesn't agree on its having value, it's going to be very hard for somebody to want to accept it as a payment. So I think that people maybe overestimated its payment use case in the last 10 years, but have since then sort of stopped expecting that to happen. And I think over the next 10 years, it will be a ripe time wherein its value is recognized and it can start to be used for payments.
Do you know someone still stuck waiting on banks? Put them on KAST. You both get up to $250 cash. Store, move, and spend stablecoins globally without using bank friction. KAST. Keep it stable. Check the link in the description to learn more.